That blinking cursor on a blank document, the workout routine you swear you'll start tomorrow, that project that's perpetually almost ready, we've all been there, stuck, paralyzed by this feeling that things aren't quite right, that we need the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, the perfect everything before we can even begin. It's like a painter endlessly reworking the same canvas, never quite satisfied, or a researcher delaying, always needing one more piece of data to feel truly confident. It is a universal struggle, this feeling of not enough. What if the very idea of starting is the obstacle, not the task itself? What if this relentless pursuit of the perfect starting point is precisely what keeps us from moving forward? Today we'll tackle procrastination from a different angle, exploring how to overcome it the Taoist way. So how does Taoism help us break free from this paralysis? Let's revisit Wu Wei. You'll remember it's not about inaction, but rather effortless action. Action that's aligned with the natural flow of things. Think of it as moving with the current, not against it. Procrastination in this light is a form of resistance. We're fighting that natural flow, creating artificial obstacles, telling ourselves we need this or that before we can start. Wu Wei, in the context of overcoming procrastination, means something quite simple. Start without the need for perfect conditions. Embrace the doing itself. Think of learning to cook. You wouldn't begin by attempting a complex, multi-course meal. You'd start with something simple, like scrambling an egg or boiling pasta, a foundational step, or consider a conversation. You don't meticulously plan every word, you respond naturally, letting the dialogue unfold organically. Even in science we see this principle. Fractal geometry reveals breathtakingly complex patterns, but these aren't preordained. They emerge naturally from simple rules. A basketball player, in those final seconds, doesn't overthink. They rely on practiced instinct, letting the body flow into the shot. A spider spinning its very first web doesn't aim for architectural perfection. It creates something functional, something that works. Wu Wei encourages us to tap into this inherent ability to act without striving, to begin, to flow, even if the starting point is imperfect. It is about the process. This brings us to another core concept in Taoism, Pu. We've talked about the uncarved block before, that symbol of pure potential, of inherent simplicity, before it's shaped or altered. Procrastination often is rooted in a fear of carving that block imperfectly. We're so focused on the ideal outcome that we hesitate to even make the first mark. Embracing Pu in this context is about accepting that the first attempt, like the first chip a sculptor makes, will likely be rough, uneven, perhaps even a little clumsy. And that's okay. That's part of the process. Think about sending that email you've been putting off. The value isn't in achieving flawless prose, it's in the communication itself, in connecting with the recipient. Or picture a sculptor facing a raw block of stone. They don't expect the finished statue to magically appear with the first strike of the chisel. They chip away, gradually revealing the form, refining it step by step. Science itself operates on this principle. The scientific method is inherently iterative. Hypotheses are tested, refined, often proven wrong, and then adjusted. It's a cycle of learning and improvement, not an expectation of immediate correctness. A rookie athlete doesn't step onto the field expecting to be a champion. They make mistakes, learn from them, and progress through experience, embracing the stumbles along the way. Even a young bird's first flight is rarely graceful. It's often clumsy, awkward, even a little frightening, but absolutely essential for its development. Letting go of the perfect outcome, embracing the spirit of Pu, allows us to begin, to learn, to grow, and to move forward, even with, and especially because of, our imperfections. Now let's explore Ziran. Remember, Ziran is about spontaneity, naturalness, acting in accordance with your own inner nature, your inherent way of being. Procrastination can be seen as a disruption of this natural rhythm, a forcing of ourselves to act in ways that don't align with our energy, our inspiration, or our internal clock. Finding your Ziran, then, means understanding your personal energy flow and working with it, not against it. Think about your own day. Are you a morning person, bursting with energy first thing? Or do you come alive in the afternoon or evening? Recognizing your most productive hours and scheduling demanding tasks accordingly is a practical application of Ziran. It's about respecting your natural rhythm. A writer might discover their flow state comes in bursts of inspiration rather than adhering to a rigid writing schedule. They learn to ride those waves of creativity when they arrive. Science even confirms this with circadian rhythms, the body's natural cycles of sleep and wakefulness. Ignoring these rhythms leads to imbalance and, yes, often to procrastination. An athlete understands this intuitively, adapting their training to their body's recovery needs, pushing hard when energy is high and resting when it's low, avoiding burnout. Even the animal kingdom demonstrates Ziran beautifully. Diurnal animals are active during the day, while nocturnal animals thrive at night, each following their innate biological programming. It is all about listening to your inner cues, honoring your natural ebb and flow, and finding the rhythm that allows you to act most effectively and authentically. And this leads us to D. We've discussed D as virtue, integrity, that authentic power that arises when we act in alignment with our true selves. Procrastination, surprisingly, can often be a signal that we're not acting in accordance with our D. We might be putting things off because they feel forced, inauthentic, or driven by external pressures rather than our own inner compass. True meaningful action flows from our genuine self, from what truly resonates with us, not from what we think we should be doing or what others expect of us. Think about your commitments. Saying no to tasks or obligations that drain your energy, that don't align with your values, is a powerful act of D. It's about prioritizing what truly matters to you. An artist, creating work that reflects their authentic vision, even if it's not trendy or commercially viable, is embodying D. They're choosing integrity over external validation. A scientist, pursuing research driven by genuine curiosity, by a deep desire to understand rather than simply chasing funding opportunities, is acting from a place of D. And a sports team, playing with heart and integrity, giving their all even in the face of defeat, demonstrates a powerful collective D. Even in the animal kingdom, the alpha often leads not through brute force, but through a natural charisma, an inherent authenticity that inspires respect and followership. When we connect with our D, our actions become infused with a natural power and purpose, and procrastination loses its grip. So, how do we put all of this into practice? How do we translate these Taoist principles into concrete steps to overcome procrastination? The key is momentum. It's about taking that first step, no matter how small, and building from there. We apply Wu Wei by starting without needing perfection. We embrace Pu by accepting that the initial effort will be imperfect. We honor Ziran by working with our natural rhythm. And we act from D by choosing tasks that align with our authentic selves. Think about it practically. Instead of facing the daunting task of write a report, your first step might be simply open a document and write one sentence. Just one. Instead of compose a symphony, the task becomes play one chord, find one note. Instead of conduct a major research project, start with a small, manageable pilot study to test the waters. Here are some actionable steps. Make them so small they feel almost effortless. Start, don't finish. Your focus should be solely on beginning. Don't worry about completing the entire task. Just take that initial action. Celebrate the small wins. Acknowledge and appreciate each small step you take. This builds positive momentum and reinforces the habit of action. Become mindful. Pay attention to your procrastination triggers. What situations, thoughts, or feelings tend to lead you to put things off? Awareness is the first step to change. Embrace imperfection. See mistakes not as failures, but as valuable learning opportunities. Every imperfect attempt brings you closer to your goal. By focusing on these micro steps, by embracing the Taoist principles we've discussed, you can shift from paralysis to action, building momentum one small imperfect step at a time. Procrastination at its root is resistance to the natural flow of action. It's a struggle against the current, a fear of imperfection, a disconnect from our authentic selves. By embracing Wu Wei, we learn to act effortlessly, to start without needing the perfect conditions. Through Pu, we accept the inherent imperfection of the process, understanding that the first step, like the first brushstroke, is often the roughest. Ziran guides us to find our natural rhythm, to work with our energy, not against it. And D empowers us to act from a place of integrity, choosing actions that align with our true nature. By weaving these principles together, we can learn to start, to flow, to create, not from a place of fear or resistance, but from a place of authentic power and acceptance. We can move from paralysis to progress, one small, imperfect step at a time. But what happens when we apply this same drive, this relentless pursuit of better, this constant striving for improvement, to something as elusive as happiness itself? We overcome procrastination by striving for action, but could our very attempts to achieve happiness, to grasp it, be the source of our deepest dissatisfaction? Could this relentless chase actually create suffering? Join us in the next exploration where we'll delve into why chasing happiness often leads to the opposite, and how a Taoist perspective might offer a path to genuine contentment, not through pursuit, but through presence, through appreciating the here and now.